Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you're watching this is Mr. Burton, and today we're going to be talking about the Aztec government. So just so we have a good understanding of everything that's going on, I'm required by the state. You guys need to understand what we're doing and how we're doing it. So today I'm talking about the standard 1.1.1, and what you're going to do is you're going to compare purpose and sources of power in the most common forms of government, which is a monarchy, a democracy, a republic, or a dictatorship, to the present day. So here's what you're going to be doing throughout the lesson today. You're going to first listen to the lesson. You're going to answer the bell ringer, and you're going to hold up the post-it note after you are finished. You're going to learn about the different type of government and economy that the Aztec have and how it relates to the United States. Then you're write and share with a partner. You have to have my permission first, your response. And then you're going to answer the exit slip at the end. So, the question is, why do you think that most ancient civilizations started out as a dictatorship? This is where you're going to write it on your post-it note, and I would encourage you to pause. After you're finished, please hold it up. Okay. Just so you guys know, what we're talking about, the Aztec Empire and the civilization itself, this is actually Central America, and actually in particular it's Mexico. So that's the area of the Aztec Empire in which we will be discussing. So the Aztec government, first off, they start off in families, and then they spread to a higher order. So a family A, they would all be together and they would form their own type of, this is how things are going to be. And then after that they would go into a bigger group of people, maybe that they like, or maybe that they feared, and they would stay with them, and they would stay with them until, and offer them protection in terms of payment, and by doing so they would be protected by the much larger group. And a lot of families, this just wasn't just in the Aztec government. This has been throughout different stuff that we've been talking about throughout all of world history. And I kind of gave you some examples in class. Hey, you're gonna do what I tell you to do, or else something's gonna happen to you, and that's the Aztecs just followed that trend. So what would happen is warriors would band together. Warriors aren't what probably you guys deem as warriors now. To be considered a warrior in ancient time was one of the most highest honors that you could give someone. Typically, they would go off to war, off to battle, either to A, protect your land, or B, to try to gain new land. So these were really, really well respected. The people really appreciated and liked them. So there was to be considered a warrior was one of the best compliments that you could give. So what they did is they banded together. So a warrior from family A, and a warrior from family B, and then a warrior for family C, and then a warrior for family D. They would all join together. These were the best of the best. They would go off and try to attack family F and take over their land, and then give them the option, you can join us or we're going to kill you. So so that's how the warriors started, and how warriors banded together. So what the warriors would do, they would go about, and then they would offer protection to families or tribes that showed loyalty to them if they paid them. So we have some people in Horse Cave. There's a much larger city called Bowling Green. Bowling Green would, just imagine, Bowling Green would protect Horse Cave in case somebody from Elizabethtown or Louisville or Lexington tried to come in and take over, and and by doing so, Bowling Green, they would protect Horse Cave, Cave City, but the people from Horse Cave and Cave City would have to pay them something in return for the protection. Try to think of it similar to taxes in the United States. I know it's not the best example, but it's probably one that you might be able to understand. But there is a type of economy that we have discussed in class, very similar to this, and it would be considered feudalism. So I'm going to try my best to say this word. It's called capuli. After the family, the basic unit of ancient Aztec government was a capuli. Families didn't own land. The land was owned by a group of families, the capuli. This structure of local government existed long before the Aztec Empire. The leadership in the capuli would be responsible for the basic needs of the group. This would set up the Telpocali, a school for common citizens that were also responsible to make sure taxes were collected from the group. In the cities, capulis became less family-related and more regional. And in case today, city life brought many different individuals of different races and culture. So, something that you need to understand is the capulis became less family-related and more regional. And I've shared this with you guys about your culture before. The culture in Horse Cave is a lot different than the culture in New York City or in Los Angeles or, honestly, even in Louisville. They have different customs, traditions, ways of life. You guys put a more emphasis on certain things that maybe people in the East Coast don't. Doesn't make it wrong. It just makes them a little different. So the capulis became less family related and more regional. As in the case today, city life brought many different individuals of different races and culture. We've talked about in the past cultural diffusion and cultural diversity. This is where it's all related. Very similar to that. So the city council, pardon me, I'll let you get about 10 seconds to look at it and then I'll go over it. Okay, excuse me. The nobility and priesthood had a lot of power in Aztec society, but although the nobility provided leadership, they weren't automatically put in government positions. In the cities, each capuli would have a leader, and those leaders would form another council. It was the city councils that held a lot of power in the ancient Aztec government. Talks later on about here, it talks about the Triple Alliance, and each council would have a kind of executive council within it. 4 members would be chosen who would lead, and all those would be a one Tlalochtani, the leader of the city. These leaders would not only control but the surrounding area. Control the city proper, but the surrounding area. That's another form of government that we have discussed. If you don't know which form of government where people elect their leaders, they have a say. I would encourage you to look back on my back bookshelf, and that should give you a better example of which type of government they started to form here. The ancient Aztec government did not rule an empire in the way we often think of the world. The control didn't stretch into every corner of life. Rather, conquered lands were forced to pay a tribute, but left a certain amount of freedom. Warriors made small attacks on surrounding people and took prisoners which would be sacrificed. Now, I've talked about this before, not to get so gruesome, but the Aztec believed in human sacrifice, and I explained to you what they did. If you have any questions about it, raise your hand and I'll explain it to you. Although the expansion of the empire was often good, people who were conquered by the Aztecs, they got really upset with them and turned into hatred. And that hatred actually led to the demise of the Aztec Empire when the Spanish conquistadors came over. So here's what you guys are going to do. Write a half-page paper comparing the United States government right now to the ancient Aztec Empire. If you need to go back, I would encourage you to do so. You might want to pause after you're finished. Write your name on a Post-it note and put it on the front of the board. And then I'm going to pair you with someone. So what I'm going to do is you're going to write a half-page paper. You're going to put your name on a Post-it note on the board. I'm going to look over your paper, and then I'm going to partner you up with someone. Might be your friend, it might not be your friend. But if you didn't write comparing the two, the United States government and the Aztec, I'm going to ask you to sit back down and review the video again, and maybe write down some notes that might be able to help you out. I'm going to pause for about 5 seconds. I would encourage you to pause as well. Okay, so your final assessment for today is on an index card. I want you to write 321 at the top along with your name in the right corner. And you're going to write 321. So on the 321, 3 things you learned. Tell me about 3 things you learned about the Aztec ancient empire. 2 things you don't understand or you have a question about. And then 1 thing that actually surprised you about the ancient Aztec empire. Remember, this has to be about the ancient Aztec empire. Hope you guys had a great time. Again, if you're not understanding something, I would encourage you to rewatch the video. It will help you out. It is to your benefit to understand what's going on. I would also, if you haven't been, I would encourage you to take notes. That way, whenever we take the test, you're just be able to skip through them, and you have the answer. If you guys have any questions, do not hesitate to ask.